bow, or be broken. The words cracked through the vacuum of space like thunder through glass. Every channel, every frequency, every human device, from orbiting satellites to the smallest wrist communicator, buzzed with that same cold, metallic voice. The stars themselves seemed to tremble at its command. Captain Mira Dane stared at the holographic display aboard the Resolute, her knuckles white against the armrest. The voice echoed again, deeper this time, layered with the harmonics of something ancient and proud. "This is the Dominion of Vaykor. Your species is now under our claim. Submit your worlds, your fleets, your leaders, or face eradication." Silence followed, the kind of silence that presses against the chest, making it hard to breathe. A single hum from the ship's reactors filled the bridge. The crew looked to Mira, some pale with fear, others hiding trembling hands. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Ross, "they destroyed Mars Station 12 in seconds. Vaporized it, just gone." Mira didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the stars outside, where a faint blue shimmer, like a curtain of light, hung at the edge of the solar system. The Vaykor blockade. 10 warships the size of cities, their hulls glinting like obsidian mirrors. She finally spoke, her voice low but sharp. "Patch me through to Earth Command." The connection flickered, static hissing like an angry ghost. "Captain Dane, this is Command. We've received the ultimatum. All fleets are to stand down and await negotiation." Mira's jaw tightened. Negotiation? They didn't offer terms. They offered slavery. "Orders, Captain," came the voice again, heavy with fear disguised as authority. "Until further notice, humanity will comply." For a moment, Mira thought she'd misheard. The words rang in her head, cold and poisonous. Comply. She turned off the channel. The bridge crew stared at her, waiting. In the dim light, her reflection shone on the forward glass. Hard eyes, storm gray, the kind that remembered every name of every soldier lost in the wars of Earth's unification. "Lieutenant," she said quietly, "how long until they reach orbit?" 30 minutes, Captain." Mira nodded. "Then we have 30 minutes to decide if we're human or property." Across the system, humanity's worlds flickered with panic. Cities went dark. Governments fractured between submission and defiance. On the moon, the mining colonies whispered of unseen ships pulling men into the void. On Europa, a research base sent its last transmission, a scream cut short by static. And on Earth, billions watched the sky as streaks of light, Vaykor ships descending, split the atmosphere like falling stars. On the Resolute, Mira stood before her crew. "You've all seen what they can do," she said, voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "But what they don't understand is what we can do when cornered." Her second officer, Commander Hale, frowned. "Captain, are you suggesting we fight?" "Against that?" He gestured to the display. 10 massive warships surrounding Earth's orbit. "I'm suggesting we remind them what desperation looks like," Mira replied. "Humanity has never been civilized when dying." A grim chuckle broke from Ross. "They think we'll kneel." "They think wrong," Mira said. Outside, a low rumble shook the hull as the Vaykor fleet moved closer. The enemy's transmission returned louder, sharper, vibrating through every nerve. "Human vessels power down immediately. Resistance will ensure total extinction." Mira stepped closer to the comms terminal. Her reflection merged with the flickering light of the alien signal. "This is Captain Mira Dane of the United Terran Fleet," she said, her voice cutting through static like a blade. "You threaten extinction? We've lived with that since we lit our first fire. You want submission?" She leaned forward, eyes burning. "Come and take it." The bridge erupted into motion. Engines flared. Shields rose. Missiles loaded. Humanity's Defiance screamed across the black. From the depths of space, the Vaykor flagship responded. Its cannons rotated, energy building like the heart of a star. Then came a single pulse, a beam of white so bright it burned through the Resolute's shields and carved across its hull. Metal screamed. Lights died. Smoke filled the bridge. Mira was thrown to the floor, blood running from her temple. She could barely hear over the roar. "Status," she shouted. "Engines crippled. Life support failing." Ross coughed through smoke. "Captain, they're not killing us. They're disabling us. They want us alive." Mira's vision blurred. The Vaykor signal came again, now softer. Mocking. "Submit, child of Earth. We have need of your species." Her hand reached for the emergency beacon, the black code, humanity's most sacred defense. A single transmission that could wake the sleeper protocol, buried deep within the lunar vault. Her thumb hovered over the button. A single thought cut through the pain. If we bow now, we'll never stand again. She pressed it. Far away on the dark side of the moon, something ancient stirred, a machine older than any human war, built for one purpose only, to remember vengeance. The moon trembled. Beneath its silent gray crust, buried in a cavern older than any map, something awakened. Cold iron hearts began to beat, circuits whispered, and ancient reactors hummed with the power of forgotten wars. Light pierced the dust like the first dawn. Lines of crimson flared across the metallic surface of a massive chamber, the vault of the sleeper protocol. A voice, mechanical and calm, rippled through the depths. Signal received. Directive retribution. Captain Mira Dane awoke to the hiss of oxygen pumps and the low moan of failing power systems. The Resolute drifted in the shadow of Earth, wounded but alive. She coughed smoke from her lungs and pushed herself upright. "Report," she croaked. Lieutenant Ross looked up from a cracked console. "We're venting atmosphere from sections 3 through 5. Shields are gone, weapons offline." But he hesitated. "Captain, something's happening on the moon." Mira's eyes flickered toward the viewplate. The lunar surface was glowing faintly red like blood under skin. "Zoom in," she ordered. The screen shifted. There, carved into the mare imbrium, was a sigil of fire spreading outward in concentric rings. Each pulse rippled through space like a heartbeat. Commander Hale swallowed hard. "What did you do, Captain?" Mira stared at the burning moon. Her voice was quiet, resolute. "I reminded the universe who we are." Across the Dominion fleet, alarm screamed. Inside the Vaykor flagship Alrin, High Sovereign Vurak watched his tactical display twist into chaos. His obsidian skin rippled with agitation as streams of data scrolled past in alien glyphs. "Report," he demanded. His voice was like grinding metal. One of his sub-commanders knelt. "My lord, the human satellite moon emits an unknown resonance. It is not a weapon, yet its frequency interferes with our systems. Then silence it." "We have tried, my lord." "Our weapons misfire." Vurak turned slowly, his many eyes reflecting starlight. "You mean to tell me prey has crippled a hunter?" The sub-commander bowed lower. "It defies classification. We have never encountered human technology of this scale." Vurak's mandibles curled into a slow, vicious smile. "Then I will burn their moon and make them watch." He gestured and the fleet began to move. On Earth, chaos bloomed. Governments broadcast conflicting orders. Surrender, evacuate, retaliate. People filled the streets, staring upward as shadows of alien ships crossed the sun. At the global command tower, General Leon Rahim stood surrounded by panicking aides. "Get me a line to the Resolute," she snapped. "Now." "Ma'am, the Resolute is dark. No comms, no power signatures." "Then get me Luna Command." "What's that energy surge?" "Unknown, General." "But the moon, it's changing." Leon turned toward the observation window. A faint hum filled the air. The entire planet seemed to feel it. Vibrations running through oceans, glass and bone alike. Something vast was waking. Back aboard the Resolute, the lights flickered back to life. "Captain," Ross shouted. "Receiving a transmission from the moon itself. Patch it through." The voice that answered was not human. It was layered, melodic, and yet undeniably familiar, like the echo of human will carried by steel. "Captain Mira Dane," it said. "You have triggered the sleeper protocol." "Identify authorization sequence." Mira hesitated. She had read the legends, the secret program born from the ashes of the last solar war, created when humanity swore never to be enslaved again. No one alive had ever heard it speak. She straightened. "Authorization. Genesis Dawn." The silence that followed was long, heavy, almost reverent. Then the voice spoke again, colder. "Authorization accepted. Directive initiated. Vengeance." The holographic display flared with light. Hundreds, no, thousands of objects lifted from the lunar surface. They weren't ships in the traditional sense, but living weapons of war, built from the bones of the moon itself. Silver constructs with cores of burning red. "Humanity's final insurance policy," Ross whispered, awestruck. "My God, what is that?" Mira's lips curved into something sharp. "Hope." The Vaykor flagship opened fire. Massive energy bolts lanced toward the moon. But before they could strike, the lunar weapons moved. Shields of light, pure gravitational distortion, absorbed the blows. Then, like 1,000 arrows loosed from the heart of Earth's first vengeance, they retaliated. White beams tore through the dark. Vaykor ships erupted in flame. Space filled with the thunder of humanity's fury. Commander Hale's voice trembled. "Captain, they're fighting for us." Mira watched the carnage unfold, eyes wet with smoke and something deeper. "No," she whispered. "They're fighting with us." The comms crackled. A voice came through, faint but human. "This is General Rahim of Earth Command. Whoever activated that system, you've just given humanity a chance," Mira smiled. "Then let's use it." Outside, the sleeper fleet formed a defensive ring around Earth, burning bright against the void. But within the shadows of the wrecked Dominion ships, something stirred, something massive. Vurak's voice thundered through the comms once more. "You awaken your ghosts, little humans, but ghosts cannot kill gods." The temperature on the bridge dropped. Mira looked up as the stars behind Vurak's ship bent, warped, as if something larger than space itself was moving behind him. For the first time, she felt true dread. "Sir," Ross whispered, eyes wide. What is that?" Mira stared into the growing darkness. "Not a god," she said softly. "Just something that forgot how to die." The screen went black, and from the lunar surface, a new signal pulsed, urgent, haunting, alive. The signal screamed through the void. It wasn't sound. It was a feeling. Every mind, every circuit, every ship, human and alien alike, felt it crawl under their skin, like a whisper from something that remembered eternity. The stars flickered. The dark itself seemed to breathe. Captain Mira Dane gripped the console, her knuckles bloodless. "Report," she barked, but her voice came out hoarse, strained. "Unknown anomaly expanding from Vaykor flagship," Lieutenant Ross said, voice trembling. "Gravitational distortion spiking. Space itself is bending around it. Visual." The hollow screen shimmered, and the sight silenced the bridge. The Vaykor flagship was no longer a ship. Its hull had split open, blooming like a black flower, and something vast and ancient was unfurling from within. Not metal, not flesh, something between, a shape the eye refused to focus on, as if the universe itself didn't want to acknowledge it. Commander Hale whispered, "That's not technology." Mira's breath caught. "No, that's their god." On the Dominion flagship Alran, Sovereign Vurak knelt before the growing shadow, his armor melting away into tendrils of dark light. His voice, filled with devotion and madness, echoed through his ship's speakers. "The veil beyond remembers, and it judges. Let the prey know the taste of despair." The shadow's voice came, not through speakers but through the mind itself. 1,000 whispers layered in one. "You defied Dominion. You awakened the sleeper. You have earned my attention, little species." Mira staggered back as her vision blurred. She could feel it speaking, inside her thoughts, her blood, her memories. She saw flashes of ancient wars fought before humans walked the earth, stars ripped apart by things too vast to name. She gritted her teeth, forcing the words out. "Get it out of my head!" The AI voice of the sleeper fleet cut in, calm, steady, inhumanly composed. Cognitive interference detected. Countermeasures active. A pulse of light flashed across space, severing the psychic connection. The shadow recoiled slightly, and for the first time it seemed angry. Mira gasped for air. "Sleeper, what is that thing?" The AI hesitated, a pause that felt too human. Designation, Zereth. Last encountered during the fall of the Ancients. Classification, Extinction Class Entity. Ross looked terrified. "Extinction Class? You mean it wipes out species?" The AI replied with clinical precision. "Correction. It uncreates them." On Earth, the oceans boiled under the psychic pressure. Communications shattered across continents. Children cried without knowing why. Animals fled inland as the night sky dimmed. In the global command tower, General Leon Rahim clutched her temple, her vision flickering between reality and visions of collapsing galaxies. "Get me, Dane," she gasped. Now a technician nodded, voice shaking. "Ma'am, we're losing long range." "I don't care." "Find her!" The static cleared, and Mira's voice broke through, rough but defiant. "Command, I'm here." Rahim exhaled. "What in God's name are we facing, Captain?" Mira stared at the creature unfolding before her. Something older than gods. "But we're not dead yet." The Resolute drifted closer to the lunar defense grid. Dozens of sleeper constructs hovered like sentinels, glowing crimson in the dark. The AI's voice returned, quiet and absolute. Captain Dane, directive vengeance is not sufficient. New parameters required. What do you mean? Current firepower cannot destroy Xyrith. But humanity's essence, its persistence, offers a unique variable. Mira frowned. Variable? Emotion, defiance. These are quantum traits unreplicable by synthetic entities. Integration required? Integration? She echoed. You want to merge? Yes, human mind, instinct, emotion. We require a pilot, a singular consciousness to unify the sleeper fleet. Ross's eyes widened. That's suicide. Mira's gaze drifted toward the burning earth below. So was standing up to them. Outside, Xyrith extended an arm of black light, tearing through one of the sleeper constructs as if it were paper. The explosion rippled across the moon, carving canyons of molten stone. Mira felt the deck tremble. Hale grabbed her arm. Captain, you can't seriously— She pulled free. If it wants our submission, it's going to choke on our fury. She turned to the console. Sleeper, prepare for neural link. Ross shouted. Mira, wait, there has to be another way. She looked at him, eyes fierce, but her voice softer now. We've always been the other way, Ross. Every time someone said humanity couldn't survive, we did. This is no different. The link cables descended from the ceiling like silver vines. Mira stepped forward. Begin the connection. The AI's tone shifted, almost reverent. Humanity's vengeance shall have a face. The cables latched to the ports in her armor. Her mind was pulled into a storm of light. Memories, pain, triumph, rage. All of humanity's history flooding her senses. She felt a billion hearts beating as one. Then her voice became many. This is Captain Mira Dane, and all of Earth behind me. Sleeper fleet, link established. Begin retaliation. The lunar surface blazed white. The sleeper fleet moved as a single organism now, guided by Mira's will. Their combined power flared brighter than any star humanity had ever seen. They struck. Beams of pure energy tore into Xyrith's body. The darkness screamed, fracturing into shards of reality itself. Furek's fleet was obliterated in the crossfire, his dying roar echoing through static. For a brief, impossible moment, it looked like victory. Then the shadow reformed. You burn bright, humans. Too bright. The voice echoed across the solar system. Let us see how long your light can last. The stars around the creature dimmed, swallowed whole. Mira gasped as the connection trembled. Her body convulsed under the strain, but she held on. Not long, she whispered, blood trickling down her temple, but long enough to make you bleed. The sleeper fleet answered her rage with fire, and in the blinding light of war, the moon itself began to crack. The first crack appeared like a silver lightning streak across the lunar horizon. Captain Mira Dane, still linked to the sleeper fleet, felt it through every nerve, every thought. The moon trembled beneath her feet, a living thing in agony. She could feel the raw power of the ancient constructs coursing through her mind. A storm of heat, energy, and vengeance. Captain, we're detecting massive structural failure across the lunar crust, Ross shouted, voice cracking over static. If this keeps up, the moon could fragment entirely. Mira's eyes burned as she processed the warning. She had seen death before. She had survived ambushes, genocides, and betrayals. But the thought of Earth's only natural satellite shattering, sending debris raining down on cities, oceans, millions of lives, was something she couldn't ignore. The sleeper AI's voice cut in, calm but insistent. Temporal risk acknowledged. Suggest tactical redistribution. Explain, she demanded. Your neural link allows direct command over the fleet, but the strain on the moon is amplifying exponentially with each attack. To contain Xyrith, we must either withdraw constructs or risk planetary catastrophe. Mira clenched her teeth. We don't withdraw. Not when they think they can dictate terms to humanity. Ross shook his head. Captain, you're risking everything. The moon, Earth, us. Mira turned on him, her glare slicing like steel. Everything already belongs to them, Ross. I'm taking it back. In the void, Xyrith roared, a soundless cry that resonated in the bones of every human and alien vessel nearby. Its mass was now incomprehensible, sprawling across space like ink in water. Reality itself seemed to warp around it. Vurak's body, shattered and scattered by the sleeper fleet, had become part of the shadow's mass. Its many eyes blinked open anew, each one reflecting the fury of the prey that dared fight back. You touch eternity, humans, it whispered, Not in words, but in force, in psychic resonance. Yet eternity consumes all, Mira shuddered. The link with the sleeper fleet amplified the psychic weight of the shadow. Pain, fear, despair, it tried to push her back, to snap her will like a twig. She gritted her teeth and forced herself forward. Not today, she muttered. Back on Earth, chaos reached a fever pitch, skyways clogged with fleeing vehicles. Military drones swarmed overhead, their automated targeting systems struggling to differentiate fragments of debris from natural atmospheric phenomena. General Leon Rahim stared at the feeds, unable to look away. Cities like Shanghai, New York, and Buenos Aires were already showing minor damage from lunar fragments. Yet humanity still moved, still fought. Emergency crews evacuated, military units held lines, civilians sheltered together, and millions prayed. Not to gods, but to each other, to survival. The humans. They're mad, her aide muttered. No civilization should survive this. Leon didn't answer. She only clenched her fists. Humanity had always survived impossible odds. They always had. In orbit above the moon, Mira directed the sleeper fleet like a maestro commanding a symphony of destruction. Crystalline constructs moved as one, energy pulsating through their cores. The surface shook with every strike, every beam of light piercing Zereth's shadowy mass. The shadow screamed. Pieces of its form fragmented and reformed endlessly, like smoke caught in a hurricane. It lashed out, and the resulting gravitational distortion knocked several constructs from their positions, sending them tumbling toward Earth. Mira gritted her teeth, forcing her mind deeper into the neural link. No, hold formation. Synchronize with me. A flash of insight hit her. The shadow wasn't just attacking, it was learning. Every strike she ordered was catalogued, analyzed, and countered. Her hands trembled on the controls. She needed something unpredictable, something it couldn't process. Ross, she hissed. Prepare the reverse pulse sequence. Full quantum divergence. Ross's eyes widened. That's insane. It could tear the moon apart. Good, Mira said. Then let's give them a little chaos. Zereth's psychic roar pulsed across the system. Foolish species. You cannot survive eternity. You are fragile. You are prey. Mira ignored it. She felt the fleet respond to her command instinctively. A blur of synchronized movement. The reverse pulse sequence fired. Red energy, brighter than the sun, streamed from the lunar constructs, weaving into patterns that distorted gravity itself. The moon shuddered violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, pieces of rock lifting into orbit. Earth trembled as minor tidal shifts sent tsunamis crashing along coasts. Humanity watched in fear, but some also saw the fury, the will to fight, alive and unbroken. The pulse hit Zereth directly. The shadow screamed, not in sound, but in the collapse of space and time around it. For the first time, it recoiled with fear. Mira's voice rang in the neural link, steady, unwavering. You wanted submission. You got our vengeance. For a moment, silence. Then Zereth began to regroup, reforming its shape more massive than before, more terrifying. But something had shifted. Its confidence fractured. Humanity had touched it, had hurt it, had left a mark. The sleeper fleet pulsed in unison with Mira's heartbeat. Every construct, every beam of energy now carried human defiance. The shadow hissed, a living darkness that writhed against the onslaught. Ross gritted his teeth. Captain, it's still alive. Mira nodded. Yes. And it will stay alive long enough to remember who it fought. Above them, the moon cracked further, deep fissures glowing with crimson light. The stage was set for the next strike. Humanity's vengeance had begun, but the cost would be monumental. In the distance, the stars whispered warnings. But Mira Dane didn't flinch. Let's finish this, she said. The fragments of the shattered moon floated like jagged teeth around Earth, casting eerie shadows over oceans and cities. Humanity held its breath, caught between awe and terror. Captain Mira Dane's body trembled inside the neural link. Her mind was no longer entirely her own. Thoughts, memories, and instincts of every human connected to the sleeper fleet coursed through her. Pain was everywhere, but so was power. She could feel the heartbeat of 1 billion defiant humans pulsing in unison with the fleet. Captain? Ross's voice came weakly through the comms. The constructs are straining under the gravitational pull of the lunar fragments. We risk complete collapse, Mira's eyes burned. Then we adapt. Humanity never survived by standing still. Outside, Zereth writhed in the void, its mass now a black storm twisting through space. Every strike from the sleeper fleet tore pieces from its form, yet it reformed instantly, mocking the idea of limitation. "Captain," Hale said, voice taut, "it's evolving faster than we can anticipate. Each attack we launch, it learns." Mira clenched her fists. "Then we'll give it something it cannot anticipate." In the halls of Earth Command, General Leon Rahim watched feeds from the Resolute and the Moon. Cities were reporting devastation from debris, yet emergency services continued to organize. Millions still believed, still fought. Humanity, she whispered almost to herself. They won't break. They never have. The whispers of fear in the tower were drowned out by another, hope. Somewhere deep inside every observer, a spark ignited. Defiance, pride, and fury all in one. Mira felt it. Something older than Xerath stirred. The shadow hesitated, sensing the reverse pulse patterns and unpredictable strikes. It recoiled, shifting violently, fracturing reality around it. "Now," Mira hissed. "Full quantum divergence. Combine with my neural link. Every human thought, every instinct, integrate." The constructs surged forward, weaving beams of energy in chaotic patterns. They struck Xerath in waves it could not calculate. The shadow shrieked, not in sound, but in the bending of stars and time around it. "Captain," Ross shouted, "it's retaliating. Full gravitational collapse toward Earth." Mira's vision expanded. She could see the path of falling fragments, the vectors of deadly debris, and yet she also saw opportunity. Each fragment could act as a catalyst, amplifying the fleet's attacks. "Redirect energy through the fragments," she commanded. "Let them become weapons." The constructs obeyed instinctively, transforming jagged moon pieces into conduits of destructive force. Energy beams flowed into the rocks, turning them into blazing projectiles aimed at Xerath. The shadow writhed, darkness folding in on itself as beams of pure human will carved into its mass. Burak, reduced to remnants of his body, stirred inside the shadow. "It is impossible." His voice, distorted, echoed through the darkness. "They are prey, yet they burn like suns." The shadow's many eyes focused on the moon. Its psychic scream tore through the void, shaking the remnants of human fleets orbiting Earth. Yet every time it struck, the sleeper fleet absorbed, countered, and responded in perfect coordination with Mira's mind. "Not yet," she muttered, gripping the neural interface. "Not yet. You won't have the satisfaction." Back on Earth, the sky blazed as moon fragments burned through the atmosphere. Millions watched in terror, yet somewhere in the chaos, humanity's spirit thrived. Children clutched parents' hands. Soldiers formed lines. Civilians shouted back at the heavens with their defiance. And somewhere a woman whispered, "Fight back, or die." Mira felt every heartbeat, every pulse of determination, every scream of fear and courage. The fleet moved with precision, guided by humanity's collective will. Each strike against Xerath carried weight, emotion, and intent. The shadow shrieked again. Parts of its mass fractured violently, collapsing inward as though reality itself was rebelling. "Good," Mira said, voice raw. "Feel what it's like to be hunted. Feel what it's like to bleed for every move." The crucible reached its peak. The sleeper fleet, powered by human thought and emotion, formed a lattice of blinding red energy around Xerath. Every construct pulsed like a beating heart. Every attack carried the weight of humanity's fury, pain, and vengeance, and then came the strike. A surge of energy, pure and unrelenting, shot through the lattice. Xerath screamed as the combined force tore into it, fracturing its mass in ways it had never experienced. Gravity and time twisted violently. The void screamed. Mira's body convulsed within the neural link. Her mind was aflame, every fiber screaming, yet she held firm. Every instinct, every memory, every defiant heartbeat in the human race poured into the strike. The shadow writhed, fractured, and for the first time, faltered. Not dead. Not gone. But shaken. Vulnerable. Mira gasped for breath, her mind slipping back to her own body. Ross helped her upright, his face pale but alive. We did it?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. Mira shook her head slowly. "Not yet. But we've shown it we can, and that changes everything." Outside, the moon glowed red with energy, fractured yet alive. Xerath drifted in the void, wounded, furious, and calculating its next move. And humanity waited, together, unbroken, ready to strike again. The void pulsed. Xerath had retreated, but not vanished. Its immense form loomed at the edge of the solar system, black and writhing, stretching across millions of kilometers. Each fragment of its being seemed to ripple with awareness, scanning, calculating, preparing for the next strike. Captain Mira Dane stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her hands gripping the console like anchors. Her body still trembled from the neural link, but her mind was sharper than ever. She could feel the pulse of humanity through the fleet, every heartbeat, every instinct, every desperate refusal to bow. Ross came forward, voice tight. "Captain, the fleet is exhausted. The constructs are straining. If Xyrith attacks again, we may not hold." Mira's gaze didn't leave the display where the shadow writhed like a living storm. "Good," she said quietly. "Then we'll make it remember fear." On Earth, humanity was rallying. Cities shattered by debris were being rebuilt in hours by automated drones and volunteer brigades. Civilians armed with improvised weapons stood alongside soldiers, determined to protect what was theirs. Across the globe, the same message echoed: fight, resist, survive. General Leon Rahim observed the chaos from the global command tower. Her face was hard, her jaw tight. "The humans are relentless," she muttered. "Even with the moon shattered, even with fragments raining down, they will not submit." A technician looked at her nervously. "Ma'am, if Xyrith attacks again, the casualties—" "We survive," Leon said, voice flat. "We always survive. That is our truth." The Resolute edged closer to Xyrith. The shadow seemed to sense their approach, extending tendrils of dark energy that warped space around the ship. Mira's eyes narrowed. The link with the fleet hummed with power, hungry, alive. "Prepare for Phase 2, she said. "We're going to take the fight to it." Hale frowned. "Captain, we've already pushed the constructs to their limits. Any further is not enough," Mira cut in. "Limits are for those who submit. We do not submit." In the void, Xyrith unleashed its attack. Massive dark waves erupted from its body, bending light and gravity, threatening to crush the Resolute in a tide of shadow. Yet the fleet responded instantly, shifting with impossible speed, forming barriers of red light and energy that pushed back the darkness. Mira felt the weight of the strike in her mind, the screams of countless humans, the terror of cities, the pressure of centuries of survival. She pushed through, drawing strength from every pulse of defiance. "Now!" she shouted. The fleet surged forward in unison, weaving a lattice of energy so precise and chaotic it was beyond comprehension. Every construct moved with human intuition, attacking Xyrith in ways it could not calculate. The shadow screamed, a soundless, reality-warping cry that made the stars themselves tremble. Pieces of it were torn apart, fragmented into the void, but each piece reformed immediately, testing the fleet's resolve. Mira's vision expanded. She saw Xyrith not just as a creature, but as a system, a network of consciousness stretched across the void. She understood then that brute force alone would not suffice. "Ross," she said, voice calm but urgent. "We fight differently. We think, we adapt. Xyrith learns, but humans improvise." Ross nodded, determination sparking in his eyes. "I'm with you, Captain." Mira's plan was simple in concept but deadly in execution. She began directing the fleet in patterns that mimicked organic thought, random, unpredictable, instinctual. Each construct became a node of human ingenuity, attacking, retreating, feinting, and striking with deliberate chaos. Xyrith recoiled. Its psychic screams twisted and fractured, confusion spreading through its mass for the first time. "Good," Mira whispered. "Now let's make it regret waking." The battle raged. Fragments of the moon energized by the fleet struck Xyrith with devastating force. Every impact tore pieces from its mass. Yet it reformed, darker, more furious, stretching tendrils of shadow toward Earth. Mira felt the pull of those tendrils in her mind. Visions of destruction, death, endless night. But she held fast. Humanity's will was stronger. "Hold the link," she ordered. "Do not break. Every heartbeat counts." The fleet obeyed, pulsing with synchronized human defiance. Beams of red light lanced through the shadow, striking at critical points identified only by intuition. Xyrith shrieked, its form convulsing under the combined assault. For a moment, space itself seemed to bend, time warping around the battlefield. Mira felt herself lifted into the edge of eternity, staring into the void where gods feared to tread. And there, in that infinite dark, she realized something. Xyrith was not invincible. It was merely another predator, and humanity, Humanity did not fear predators. The shadow reeled, fractured, and for the first time it paused, uncertain. Mira's lips curled into a thin smile. "We're not done," she said softly. "Not by a long shot." Below, Earth trembled, and above, the remnants of the moon glowed crimson. Humanity's defiance had carved a mark across eternity, but in the distance, from the darkest reaches of Xyreth's form, a pulse radiated outward. Ominous. Deliberate, it was preparing, and Mira knew. This was far from over. Silence stretched across space like a held breath. Captain Mira Dane hovered in the neural link. Her mind fused with the sleeper fleet. Every construct pulsed with human will, every strike a heartbeat of Earth itself. Xyreth loomed before them, a storm of shadow and darkness, massive beyond comprehension, fractured but unbowed. Ross's voice trembled in her ear. "Captain, it's different. Slower, but smarter." Mira's eyes narrowed. "It's learning from us, but it hasn't learned everything. Not yet." The Resolute drifted through the debris of the shattered moon, the red glow of the sleeper constructs casting a fierce light across its hull. Earth hung below them, trembling under the moon's remains, but alive. Humanity was still alive. "That's all we need," Mira whispered. Xyreth's tendrils lashed through space, striking at constructs, tearing reality apart. Yet the fleet responded faster than the shadow could anticipate. Each movement, each counter, carried the spark of human ingenuity. Its frustration was palpable, an alien intelligence confronting a species that would not break, would not bend. "Captain," Hale shouted, voice urgent, "it's gathering energy." That pulse, it could destroy Earth. Mira's mind raced. Time had never felt so thin, so fragile. Every second counted. Every misstep could mean annihilation. "We end this," she said, voice low but firm. "We don't run. We don't hide. We strike at the heart of fear itself." The fleet pulsed in agreement, red light flaring brighter than the sun. On Earth, the air crackled with tension. Cities were in ruins, yet humanity did not bow. Survivors cheered as streams of red energy tore across the sky. Fragments of moon transformed into conduits of vengeance. Soldiers, civilians, children. They all shared the same defiance. Somewhere deep in the chaos, General Leon Rahim smiled grimly. Humanity would not kneel. In the void, Mira saw her chance. Xyreth had overextended, pouring power into its attacks while leaving gaps in its defenses. Every strike the fleet had made, every unpredictable maneuver had weakened the shadow at its core. "Ross," Mira commanded, "focus all power into the lattice. Target the heart. We finish this now." The constructs obeyed, forming a lattice of energy around the shadow's center. Mira poured herself fully into the link, every thought, every instinct, every ounce of human will flowing into the attack. She was no longer just Mira Dane. She was humanity itself. Every life, every heartbeat, every act of defiance shaped the strike. Xyreth screamed, not in sound, but in the collapse of space around it. Shadows twisted, tore, and reformed, but the human lattice held. It pressed inward, unyielding. The shadow faltered. A fissure appeared in its massive form, glowing with the red light of the fleet. Its psychic howl reverberated through space, a cry of fury and disbelief. "You cannot destroy," it whispered, voice echoing through the void, through the neural link, through every corner of human consciousness. "Yes, we can," Mira said, eyes blazing. "We already have." She directed the final strike. Every construct fired in perfect harmony, energy beams weaving through the fissure, collapsing the shadow from within. Xyreth writhed violently, its form unraveling like smoke in a storm. Pieces of it tore apart and dissolved into the void. Time itself seemed to shudder as the last fragment of darkness disintegrated. Silence followed. Absolute, profound silence. The sleeper fleet glowed, exhausted but victorious. The moon's remnants hovered in orbit, stabilized by the construct's control, glowing faintly red, a reminder of humanity's vengeance. Mira collapsed from the neural link, Ross catching her before she hit the deck. Hale helped her upright. "It's over," he said quietly. Mira's chest heaved. She looked out at Earth, glowing fragile and blue. "No," she said softly. "It's just beginning." Across the solar system, the Dominion fleet lay in ruins. Vurak and his commanders were gone, their screams lost in the void. The remaining Vaykor ships fled into the darkness, carrying a message they would never forget. Humanity did not submit. Humanity struck back. humanity survived. On Earth, people emerged from shelters, staring at the sky. Fragments of moon burned across the atmosphere, raining harmlessly in a crimson glow. Humanity had endured devastation beyond reckoning, and yet they stood together, proud, alive, unbroken. General Rahim turned to her aides. "Remember this," she said, voice strong, unyielding. "They demanded submission. Humanity gave them vengeance, and they will remember it for eternity." Back on the Resolute, Mira Dane stared into the void. The stars were quiet, yet the universe felt different. It had seen what humans could do, and the echoes of their defiance would linger across light years. Ross asked softly, "What now, Captain?" Mira smiled faintly, a glint of fire in her eyes. "Now we rebuild. We remember, and if anything ever thinks to challenge humanity again..." She paused, voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "They'll find we are not prey. We are the storm." The remnants of the moon glowed behind her, a scar and a symbol. Humanity had risen from the edge of extinction, forged in fire and fear, and had carved its vengeance into the stars themselves. Above all, one truth remained. The universe would never forget the day humanity refused to kneel.